Oh my goodness, what is going on? Am I early to a live stream? Is that even legal? Am I allowed to do that? But here I am, 4 minutes early, people. Don't know how it happened. Don't know how it happened. Anyways, I'm still brushing my hair. Probably could have waited another 3 minutes before starting. It's good to have you here, Euros. I meant to start with playing Moonlight Sonata, so we'll just do that now. Oh, and I was supposed to have candles going. I'm sorry. Anyways, I hope you guys brought the mustaches and baguettes, because I certainly didn't. I just brought wine. And painting. I was going to sit and paint with you guys. All right, enough of that. Enough Beethoven. That's for after. That's for the 2 a.m. time when I paint alone by myself. It's good to have you here. So I reckon this will be a bit of a new group. I do see Georgie and Thomas here. Thomas, what are you doing up at this ungodly hour, considering you are in Australia as well? Martin, I don't see you around here too often. Wonderful to have you. We had a few things to discuss. I've had an interesting, eventful week. I did a debate with Hunter Avallone. He used to be kind of in the conservative sphere of things. My hair is really bothering me right now. Maybe I should just get it out of the way, put it up. But of course, I threw away my hairband because why wouldn't I? Yeah. Anyways, Hunter Avallone used to be in the kind of conservative sphere of things. And I think it was maybe last year. You guys will have to remind me. He just did a switcheroo, decided he was he says he's a centrist now, but he seems to appear a little more left-wing, in my humble opinion. But I think that was why a lot of people were afraid when I came back to politics and I said I wanted to start looking at things from the center. I wanted to start being fair and looking at both sides, because so many people who come out and say that just end up being like progressive, like the rest of culture. So I get that, I guess, but I'm just built different. I don't do that. Anyways, we were debating trans issues, which is a very strange. Oh, there's my hairband. There we are. We're just putting the hair up, guys. Screw it. I know this was supposed to be all nice and dressed up. I'm technically wearing a dress, but my hair is irritating, so we'll just put it up. But anyways, for some reason, all of these debate bros, they just want to talk to me about trans issues. That's it. They're obsessed with the topic, which is strange to me. Like, I get it's a big topic in media. There's all the trans sports stuff going on, all the stuff about trans medicine, but it's a really small portion of the population. And for me personally, even with conservatives obsessing over it, it's not that huge of an issue to me, because it's not impacting 99.9% of people. Certainly when it comes to adults, I have totally just taken the position, if you're an adult, you do what you want with your body. And you do what you want with your life. Now, when it comes to the hormone blockers for children, and I told Hunter this in the debate, that's something that particularly I want to discuss. Or that's the only part of this debate that I'm particularly interested in, because it's to do with children. It's to do with interrupting or changing their hormones. And that's a huge change. Like, you have to understand, this is something that affects women when we take birth control. This is something that if I've struggled with PCOS, which is huge hormonal fluctuations. Any woman who's given birth, any of these things, huge, really impacts you. And I think about this for kids. Let me get my paints out while we chat. And like, that's a lot. We better have some good research if we're going to be changing children's hormones, especially around puberty. Holy, that's a big time in your life. But the problem was the debate ended up being an absolute mess, guys. I gotta be honest. Even from my point of view, like, I was cringing watching. I think we both came out pretty bad. I don't think either of us were good in the debate. And the reason why is because it ended up just being us throwing studies at each other the entire time and debunking each other. You can't, and I didn't want it to go to that sphere. I wanted to talk about the philosophy behind this all. I wanted to talk about, well, what kind of things can kids consent to? What can't they consent to? What are the best treatments? Let's talk about that. But we got into the medicine and the studies real fast. Just not, you can't do this with two people who are not data scientists, who have not studied sociology. Yes, I spent like 2 weeks studying and working with people who were data scientists and going through the studies and having them explain to me how methodology works. But you cannot sit there in a live debate and go, here's one study, here's a study, here's a study, this is why you're wrong, here's a study. Like, these studies are insanely long. There's tons of methodology involved there. Like, people act like I've got this study that agrees with me and therefore you're wrong about everything. That's not a conversation. And this is the territory it kind of got into with Hunter, is he was like, well, I've got studies that support that giving hormones or hormone blockers to children helps their health. And for me personally, of course, even if I'm skeptical of something, if there was a lot of solid research that is going to help save lives, yeah, I'm going to support it. I'm not a crazy person. But oh my goodness, when I actually went through the data on this puberty blocker stuff, it is so bad. And of course it's bad. It's only been around for a very short period of time. We're talking about experimenting on children. It's relatively new. Like, there's not much research in the subject at all, let alone affirming that it's 100% good. And then the other factor I have is there's barely any research on other treatment options, on other approaches to take other than puberty blockers. So I'm like, this seems like a whole gray zone. And you want to just start saying, yes, 100%, no matter what, this is the best treatment for kids dealing with gender dysphoria. Man, like, that's like, let's talk about that. That's pretty scary to just say on. So I went through some of the data that was saying it was a positive thing for kids, and the data was just showing like, we don't know, not enough testing. Some of the data was literally online surveys. Others were done by LGBT plus organizations that obviously would have a bias to saying, yes, this is the treatment we want, which I don't get why people would want bias studies, because while you may want to or think that hormone blockers are the best option, wouldn't you want to know if they're not the best option so that you're helping kids who are struggling with gender dysphoria instead of just throwing a fad at them that may hurt them? Like, I would, if I were considering taking a medication, so I have ADHD, for example, and if I were considering taking a medication for ADHD, and all of the studies for said medication were done by a company trying to sell said drug, like, were done by the company that creates the drug Ritalin or Vyvanse, and all of them were like, yes, this is really amazing, I'd kind of sit there and be like, I kind of want studies on this done by impartial individuals. And this is coming from me, someone who thinks ADHD drugs can really help you. But I would want an impartial party telling me that, not just a biased party, because I'd want to know this is actually something that is going to help me. So I don't get this desperation to just find data, no matter how biased it is, that affirms that puberty blockers for kids is the best treatment, because you're not helping kids by just 100% supporting one answer and saying you're bigoted if you suggest any other treatment options. So anyways, that just became a complete crash and burn. The worst part to me, though, I'm mixing paints right now, if you're wondering why I'm looking down. The worst part to me, though, when it comes to this debate is you can't really speak to someone when they spend the entire time accusing you of wanting to murder children. Let me get into that. Welcome to the party, Joseph. We're just talking about my debate with Hunter Avallone. So I get annoyed when conservatives do this too, when you go to debate someone on abortion, for example. I don't think you should run into said debate and start screaming at them, why do you want to murder children? Why do you want to murder babies? And the reason I wouldn't start with such a vicious approach is because there are steps in between making that accusation and it having any form of accuracy. If someone doesn't think a fetus is a baby, if someone doesn't think it is a human life, if they've watched the media and they believe this fetus is just a clump of cells and there's nothing more to it, and that's their belief, you can't accuse them of wanting to genocide children. You have to first have, there's a step between there. You have to convince them that this is a baby, it is worthy of protecting. And then if they agree with you, okay, yeah, I think that is a living human being and a baby, but we should still kill it. Then you can accuse them of wanting to genocide babies, but there's a step between there. You have to have that discussion. You have to have that conversation first. Much like, well, not much like, it's a bit of apples and oranges here, but the Hunter debate, like, he kept asserting, why do you want to kill trans children? Why do you want them to die, Lauren? There's this perfectly fine treatment option and you just don't want to give it to them, which, for him to make that assertion, he would have to hear me say the words, yes, I think puberty blockers 100% are the best treatment option, 100% will save lives, and yet I don't want kids to have them. For him to make that assertion, he would have to hear me say those words. He didn't, of course, and he decided to make that assertion anyways, and it was extremely bad faith, in my opinion. And I would never go the other way around, and I tried not to do this, certainly, and make the assertion, Hunter, why do you hate children and want to make them infertile? It's just really disgusting of you. Like, why do you hate these children? Why are you trying to make them infertile with hormones and puberty blockers? The reason I wouldn't make that assertion is because clearly he doesn't believe that. That's not the argument he's making. So I would have to get to the steps where I convinced him of the potential dangers of these drugs before I made that assertion. Anyways, just very bad faith. Martin says, it sounds to me like giving all girls birth control until they decide they want children. I'd say I guess a little bit, but still a bit different. Because I think even with girls, like, I don't think you can give girls birth control before they've gone through puberty. So it's still different to that, because we're talking about giving kids drugs to prevent puberty altogether. And that's huge. Birth control is still really has a lot of impact on kids, certainly. It has a lot of impact on girls. But stopping puberty altogether is definitely a much bigger step than just birth control. Oh. Still have to finish watching the debate, says Leanne. I'm so sorry. It's a lot. I wouldn't even suggest watching the debate. Honestly, I would suggest watching Destiny and I's breakdown of the conversation after. I felt that was way more productive than the actual debate I had with Hunter. I think he put that up today. Oh my goodness, I am so warm. I gotta open my window here. Sorry guys, I'll be right back. Here we go. Window is open. Also, Leanne, I'm glad you loved my essay. I would, if you haven't checked it out yet, it's a behemoth of an essay called The Rise of Systemic Tabloidism on Lotus Eaters. I'm thinking of making a breakdown video for those who don't have just a random free 2 hours in their day to go through my ramblings and raves about the press and how it got to the disaster it is. But if you do have the time, I worked very hard on it, and it's a beautiful piece. Anyways, let's quickly talk about the Destiny discussion I did. If you don't know who Destiny is, he's kind of like one of the original liberal debate bro YouTubers, plays a lot of video games, and spends a lot of time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to paint and talk, guys. I'm already having trouble multitasking, but anyways, yeah, Destiny spends a lot of time debating and talking to political personalities on the internet, but he definitely leans more liberal, and so do his audience. Yet I feel like I got a really good response there. And I wasn't really sure why, because it was a very chill conversation. It was just me, hey, here's some questions I have. Here's like my thoughts. And I'm used to these audiences being very hostile. But I had this moment of realization where I think that how do I portray this? A lot of these liberal circles are so used to just blood sports where all of the conservatives come in there with the intention of dunking on them, vice versa. It's all just, I want to get an internet dunk right now. I don't want to just have a normal conversation like a normal freaking human being. And because of that, they've never really seen a conservative that has empathy for people that are struggling with gender dysphoria, which is super important. It's extremely like, this is giving me a lot to think about right this second while I'm live on stream. But yeah, because the point of a lot of debates is just to dunk on the other person and be like, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. There isn't a lot of room to show, hey, I have empathy for this other person. Hey, I have empathy for this other group of people. And therefore, people assume there's a lack of empathy, or maybe there is a lack of empathy. I can't read some of these conservatives, but it's so important to show when you're talking to these people about their issues that you do have empathy, that you do care. If you do, certainly. I mean, if you don't lie, I guess. But that's pretty sad because people that are struggling with gender dysphoria, that's a lot. That is a lot. And to acknowledge that some people have gender dysphoria, to acknowledge that even kids may struggle with gender dysphoria, that's a very real thing. It's just as real as biology is. And to say it's a real thing is not to deny biological sex. It's not to suggest we need to have government laws come in and mandate that we use certain pronouns. It's just to say I recognize dysphoria as a disorder. And it's difficult and it's challenging. And talking about the solutions to it is a really tough conversation, but it's one we need to have, and that needs to not be blurred by politics and what is the fad to say, because we do want what's best for these people. And if you can't, people don't care what you have to say until they know that you care. If you want to come into a conversation and talk all day about kids dealing with gender dysphoria, but all you want to do is use that conversation to dunk on libtards, why would any parent that has a kid that is struggling with gender dysphoria listen to you if you say, actually, I don't care about these kids at all. I think they're dumb. I think they're stupid. Yeah, I'm just here to dunk on you guys and show you that there's two genders and you guys are stupid. Like, no. If this is actually about helping people, we have to have a degree of empathy. And maybe it's because I have friends from lots of diverse backgrounds. Maybe it's because I have friends that, like, I have a family friend group and their child is dealing with this. And the Canadian state is trying to force their kid to take hormones. And the parents are absolutely shattered over it because, of course, they're like, we love our kid. We know they're struggling with a lot right now, and we love them despite that, and we care for them despite that. But we are genuinely concerned about our child being infertile when they grow up. We are genuinely concerned that they may go through puberty and desist, and then they've changed their biology or they've changed their hormones, and there's potentially no coming back from that. So they've got these really real concerns, and they don't want to hear people on the internet saying, "Ha, I dunked on you, trannies are dumb." They want to hear people saying, "Hey, here are what the actual studies say. Here are potential options. Here's how we can talk about solutions. We care for you. We love you." Just because someone has a disorder doesn't make them worth less. It just, like lots of people, I have ADHD. That doesn't make me worth less. It's just something I'm struggling with. But does that mean I should have had, if there had been no studies behind Adderall, or, for some things, especially just when drugs were being manufactured initially, there were like methamphetamines were being thrown at each other. I talked about Vioxx in the Hunter debate. That was a drug that was approved as a painkiller by the FDA, which killed 60,000 people, as many people who were killed in the Vietnam War. And that was only taken off the market in 2004. And there were whistleblowers trying to get it taken off the market who were silenced, literally silenced, that were trying to warn about the potential dangers. So, you can express you care while still expressing, oh, we need to do this properly. We need to, not just rush into something because it's a fad. Anyways. Yeah, Joseph says, gotta destroy false premises in debate. Absolutely. Yeah, Martin says, are we in the conversation to find a solution or to score points? And that is the main thing. If you look like you are coming into a conversation just to score points, that conversation is going to go nowhere and people are not going to care what you have to say. And rightly so, because you're just there to get an internet dunk, to get your followers to all go, yay, woohoo. Which may have been a problem in the Hunter debate with both of us because it was set up as a debate. We were just like, my thoughts, my thoughts, my thoughts. There was no like budge room. Whereas the conversation between Destiny and I, we were both like, listen, I'm completely willing to admit perhaps I'm wrong. That's a much better premise for a conversation. Oh, Joseph is saying that Vioxx was an anxiety medication. That may have been it. This is why you don't trust just random people on the internet chatting in the middle of the night with wine. Because we make mistakes. We're imperfect. And more so, none of these internet personalities are the people doing the studies. They don't know everything. We're just internet personalities. Yes, like I said, I did advise a lot of people who are data scientists and people who research in this sphere before jumping into it. But neither Hunter or I should have so much certainty as to us being 1000% right. And that was the point I was really making, was you cannot sit here and assert 1000% this is the best solution when like you're just listing from a bunch of studies from a document that say, hey, Google, support my viewpoint. Give me documents and studies that support my viewpoint, literally in real time, just copy pasting studies to me that he had never read. Like, what kind of a conversation is that? That's not a real conversation. That's not a real debate. That's literally just us both sitting there Googling, Google, show me study that says I'm right. Link. Like, that's not a conversation. It's just ridiculous. Very frustrating. Oh, okay. What am I doing here, guys? What am I doing? Here's the photo that I'm working on. It's a picture that I took in Lyon a while back. Can't remember what I was there for. I did walk into this church, though. It was the church at the top of the hill in Lyon. And I think instead of working on the actual building, which takes a lot of technical skills, I'm going to work on the leaves. Because the leaves take very little technical skills. It's just kind of brushing away. Very therapeutic. I got to tell you guys, this is something I used to paint like years ago. Many, many years ago, I used to paint and I stopped. This is probably the second thing I've painted in 2 years. And I've realized just how important it is to have these little things that are kind of therapeutic to your soul and are away from the fray. Because it's very easy to get caught up in this fray of internet chaos and think that it is everything that matters. It's not. It is not, my friends. A little bit of painting can clear your head. I'm going to become your Bob Ross here. Y'all can join me. Go get yourself a paintbrush, some tea, a piece of paper. Get your canvas out. We'll all paint together. Do an ASMR about Clown World. Can you order a Bob Ross beard from eBay? Maybe I will. Maybe we will do just a Bob Ross live stream. Don't tempt me. All right, I'm painting leaves here, guys. I am painting leaves. Okay, so on top of this, I had 3 things I wanted to talk about tonight: the Hunter debate, the Destiny conversation, and then an autopsy I'm performing on conservatism, and then I'll be taking questions. Ooh, also, I'm thinking if I do another Bob Ross stream, I'm going to have to get like a little easel here and I can paint while you watch. But, so the autopsy I'm performing on conservatism, as I was just saying, I think there are a lot of progressives who are not used to seeing a conservative actually have empathy because so much focus is on getting the dunks in. And I also get it, like empathy has been thrown out the window in the sense that everyone's just really angry with each other. You think I'm a Nazi. You think I'm an SJW. There's no redemption for me anyways. I might as well just say what I think instead of trying to put fluff on it because you guys don't give a shit anyways. Well, I'd like to think that saying what we think does include empathy, because saying what I think definitely includes empathy. Like, I actually care about people. So I don't think that's sacrificing any honesty to say, hey, I also care about people. But that's just one of many things I think has caused for the decline of conservatism in popular culture. And yes, part of it is censorship. Of course, we can't deny that fact, but we also can't blame it entirely. We have to take a little bit of responsibility here, a little bit of responsibility for what can be done better. And isn't that the conservative principle? Pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, figure out what you yourself can do better. And I haven't exactly identified all of the problems. One of them was definitely what I talked about in my last video with capitalism, where in order to critique progressives, in order to critique the left, you have to admit what they're right about first. So you have to say, actually, yeah, it's fair for you to have criticisms of capitalism, but let's talk about where those criticisms spawn from. Let's talk about what the alternatives are. Okay, some of the alternatives that have been suggested throughout history have led to the deaths of millions. That's our concerns. Not that you don't have legitimate concerns about capitalism. Of course, there are problems with it. We agree with you. Let's talk about ways to fix them that don't include implementing radical totalitarian policies. That is a much better conversation than you're wrong about everything and capitalism is perfect. I worship capitalism. Money, money, money. Best thing that ever happened. Like, that is just, come on, people. The next thing I'm working on in my, sorry, I'm just checking out the chat. Rolf Harris. I don't know who Rolf Harris is. Is this a different Bob Ross? Is this an inferior Bob Ross? Yeah, Joseph says, autopsy on conservatism. Interesting phraseology. Yeah, I think it's dead. At least the conservative movement to a large degree. I think it is dead, and it was killed. It was a suicide. It was a suicide that the left were very happy to watch. They didn't try to save us in any way, but it was still somewhat of a suicide. There's that. Then I think there's also there was a bit of a moment that happened maybe back in 2017, 2018, where there was a huge conservative outreach to, I hate using the word incel. I'm going to use the word incel just because that's how it's popularly used. But when you think of someone who's involuntary celibate, I don't think that's any sort of crime. I don't think that's a judgment on your personality. Like, if you can't have sex with someone or other people, that doesn't make you a bad person. That's just an unfortunate position that you're in. You could have perfectly nice people who are quote unquote incels, but people who quote unquote identify as incels, that identify with the political movement there, that are like, I dislike females. I think the whole world is against me and I'm very angry. That group, there was a weird outreach, certainly in dissident right circles, to that group and a pushback to normal people. Of course, calling them NPCs and normies. And that's not to say there isn't a legitimate criticism of people who just follow the news flow and say, click like, because that's what Cosmopolitan says today. Of course, that's a freaking problem. But I would rather take a normie, just person who's more concerned with what the latest fashion trends are, but has a life with a job, friends, family, goes to regular barbecues and events, but doesn't really think that much about the news. I would rather have that person on my side than internet schizoids who refer to women as holes and resource stealers, right? Just as much as I would rather have a normie on my side than a woman who referred to all males as evil rapists. There's a bit of a freak show going on both sides of politics, and SJWs absolutely were a huge thorn in the side for progressivism in 2015 and 2016, when people were like, holy crap, look at these freaks you have aligned yourself with. They're literally naked in the street screaming about killing all men. That is insane. Why are you people defending these freaks? And then conservatives, for some reason, decided to align themselves with the same people, but on our side. Like the same kill all men people, except in the bodies of internet male schizoids. Like these were not a good thing to tie our wagon to. Not at all. Like normal human beings would have been a better thing. Much better. Ugh. Oh, so that's one problem is the desperation for numbers in a movement caused a problem with quantity over quality. I would rather quality. So I love that I've got like a quality little sphere of people here. For example, you can talk, you can have a nice conversation, and when people can't, like the disasters we've had in the Discord at some points, we kick them out. Because even though it's awesome to have a $5 or $15 extra added to the subscribe star count, awesome. If you're going to make the time miserable for everyone else and you're going to be socially just unable to communicate with others, that's not a positive thing to have in your movement. That's not a positive thing to have in your community. And in real life, in person, a lot of these people would just, everyone would look at them and be like, why are you screaming at women or men that they're absolutely worthless? Like, please leave the barbecue. We don't want you here. But on the internet, for some reason, people can get away with it. And conservatives, certainly in the dissident circles, I mean, of course, mainstream conservatives have been a bit better at this, but have unfortunately cast their umbrella a bit too wide. Needs to be a bit of a freak purge, my guys, my dudes and ladies here. We talked about this last time, though. And lastly, and this is the most important one that I think I'm going to have the most degenerates on both sides, says Steven, exactly. Thomas says, or Telegram. Yes, and as I've mentioned, that is the 100% problem with alt tech, is it just becomes a breeding ground for people that were kind of kicked out of proper media. And unfortunately, for some people who were kicked out of proper media that didn't deserve it, they just end up having nowhere to go because they don't want to be on these alt tech platforms with all of the people that were kicked off that kind of did deserve it, even if you don't agree with censorship. Oh, now the last one, guys, and I haven't really talked about this before, and I think this is going to be the most difficult thing for me to address. I'm just painting leaves here, and it's so nice. I'm enjoying myself. Oh my goodness, guys, this is going to be the most difficult part for me to address. The moral rot at the core of the conservative movement. I got to be real. There is a severe moral rot within the leadership of conservatism, and I hate gossip. I hate calling out other people's moral failures because we are all human and we all fail. But at the same time, if I have Christians in the chat, you've probably heard of the phrase sinning and living in sin. So to explain, everyone sins. Everyone falls short. We all mess up in our lives. We do things that we're like, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't do that. I regret that. Whether it be lying, doing drugs one night, whatever it might be. I don't know. Something you did horribly wrong. We all sin. We all fail. And there's a distinction in the Christian faith between sinning and living in sin. Living in sin means that you sin, but there's not really, you're not taking any action to try to change after that. The regret and the remorse, and then the action to divert one's life from that negative course, that just isn't there. You just continue to live in sin. So instead of one day where you lie and cheat people, and then you are completely remorseful and you try to make up for it and you try to change your life course, which would be a sin, you spend every single day lying and cheating people, and that's your lifestyle. You do it every day, and maybe you're remorseful, but you do nothing to change it. Nothing at all. And within the conservative movement, and I see Duncan saying, what? Conservatives have leadership? I mean more so the popular figures, the people that are representing the face of conservatism publicly. A lot of them are living in sin, so to speak. And that was something that really pushed me away from the conservative movement. It almost pushed me away from conservatism totally, I'll be honest with you. And if it weren't for if the politics were personal to me, and if I if my expression of my politics were personal, there's no way I would be a conservative. No way, because I have seen just so much horrible stuff within the conservative movement, so much betrayal, so much just disgusting stuff that I just want nothing to do with. But my politics are not defined by how other people behave or act. They're defined by what I think the best structure for civilization is and what I think the best ideas are, not by the actions of personal people in my life. But a lot of people do define their lives as it is an outward expression of the personal. You see someone go through a bad breakup and suddenly they become MGTOW, or suddenly they become a hardcore feminist, and that's politics becoming the personal, right? I try to avoid that, but I don't know, guys. You tell me. I'm very curious. As I paint here, there is a severe moral rot within a lot of the people who represent conservatism. None of the values that they express publicly, they apply to their own lives. They're genuine. And I hate the word grifting because it is applied to just everyone without any discretion. But there are genuine grifters. There are people who are just in it for the money and don't care at all about the actual ideas or doing good new things. And part of the reason I have a problem calling it out or talking about it is because, causing and talking about drama is almost part of that moral rot. And I don't know if calling it out would be causing more moral rot, involving myself in more drama. So let me know your thoughts. It's very hard. The hypocrisy of it all, as Andre says. Ugh. Sorry, just looking at what you guys are saying here. Oh, you can fail, but if you have no intent to change, you're not really repentant, says Scott. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There are a lot of people who, they're just living in sin. There's no intention to improve or to try to do better. And it's sad. It's really sad. It's hard for me to watch. And I feel like to an extent, I'm also, by maybe not mentioning the moral rot of it all, I am protecting people who don't necessarily deserve it. All right, let's see. Leanne says, live by your principles and I'll have full respect even if I disagree. All these movements are full of people saying one thing and just being full degenerate IRL. And this is why, to an extent, sometimes I have more respect for progressives. That's saying a lot. Definitely not the journalists, because they are just constant liars. But the progressives who say, just do whatever you want, live your life. I don't care. I'm not judging. We shouldn't have any restrictions on society, whatever. There should be no boundaries. At least they're honest. They're not setting any standards for society. They're not setting any higher goals. So if they act in ways that are completely, morally void, at least they're honest. And is honesty not a form of morality? There's something to that. Oh. Joseph says, those I think are false conservatives who infiltrate to destroy or harm the party. Yes, I think the purge idea is a good one, but if the bad guys get to purge, that is a problem. And that's what's been happening 100%. I think, oh my gosh, guys, this is gossip. Welcome to the Euro gossip stream, really wine and gossip. But part of the reason I had such a bad time with people spreading gossip about me after I left politics was a lot of people knew I wanted nothing to do with the moral rot that was going on in the conservative culture and movement. And, I had rejected some people, to say the least, to some degree, and not wanted to be a part of it. And they knew I knew all their dirty little secrets and therefore I had to have my reputation destroyed to their audience. I had to be no longer a viable voice because I might, and this is the thing too, I had no intention. Like I was just like, I don't like gossip. I don't want to talk about this stuff. I had no real intention of even talking about any of it, but they're like, no, she knows our dirty little secrets. She isn't willing to be part of the cabal. It's the same thing with you see in the like with the elites, you have to do all these crazy things with kids or with hookers or whatever, and we're going to take pictures of you and use it as blackmail so that we know we all keep secrets amongst each other because we've all got blackmail on each other. That's a big thing in clubs, in university clubs in the UK where all the elites go. You have to do this crazy act with a pig and we'll take a picture of you, and then if you ever betray our group, we'll use it against you. So it's like a big game of Mexican standoff where everyone's holding guns to each other's head at the leadership of the conservative movement. Everyone's doing horrible stuff, and if we all just continue to do horrible stuff together, then none of us will out each other because we're all doing it. And I didn't want any part of that. I pulled out completely from being involved with so many people in the movement, and they hated that, and therefore I had to be destroyed. Gossip stream. So people kind of put their brains together to work on that. But it's really sad. But yeah, exactly what you're saying, Joseph. That's what's not good, is when the people who are rotten are doing the purging. Thomas says, I agree the rot is everywhere and it's global, hence why the far left is winning. That's a very good point. It's almost not even just within the conservative sphere, within the conservative movement. It is a global rot. Our earth is just... everyone on the planet is kind of falling into this apathy towards our behavior and in treatment of one another. Willie says, having a good family stands out the most to me. Yeah, it's that personal, having that personal, if you can hold your personal life together, your personal friendships and relationships, that is a very good sign. But it's even hard for people to do that. Let's look at COVID. We've been separated more than ever. It's being so promoted. It's hard to really blame people for falling into this state. Georgely says, calling it out is a great personal risk. I think you should do it from a moral standpoint, but not without considering the possible consequences. More gossip about you would be certain. Yeah, I know. I've let so many people just walk all over me because I'm like, nah, just not worth it. Just not worth it. I'm at this point of just extreme frustration. I think often about that. There's an example people make where I remember when all of this crazy stuff was happening within the conservative movement, and I was like, God, why don't you just put good people in charge? Lord, why don't you just allow the good people to be the loud voices, the lasting voices? Like, why are there so many corrupt people that are morally rotten with so much power in every sphere of politics, whether it be left wing or right wing? Like, why? I don't understand. And I get it. It's the world's domain, but there's this parable where a guy is just calling out to God and he's like, save me from this flood. Please, Lord, save me from this flood. And then a boat comes by and says, quick, hop in our boat. We're here to save you. And he says, no, I'm sorry. I'm waiting for God to save me. And then a helicopter comes by and says, hop in our helicopter. We're here to save you. Get in. And he says, no, sorry. I'm waiting for God to save me. And then like a few other things like this happen. And it's like, well, maybe those were the opportunities. Maybe you also have to take some action to change the world and take opportunities to take action instead of just like, yeah, it's part you as well. God will give you opportunities to change. So I'm just trying to think about the smart way to do this. And I think maybe staying out of drama entirely and just doing my autopsy on conservatism and suggested ways on how we can improve and morally heal is the best way, and just completely stay out of drama altogether. Rise above it. All right, guys, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Because honestly, like, part of these live streams with you is like a therapy session for me. I'm literally painting and just talking about my problems. I appreciate it. I know I told you, and oh my goodness, here we go, talking about sin. I lied to you all. I said I was going to screen some of Empty Love for you, and it's not because I don't have anything to stream. It's because I literally still cannot figure out my streaming software. And I need to find just a day. I need to take a day out to just figure it out, nail it, get it working. If you recall, last time we streamed Crossfire for about 30 minutes, I was stuck with a gaming screen that was frozen in a little pink box and couldn't figure out how to put the movie on screen and couldn't rewind it or pause it or anything. So I got to get past that point. Tomorrow, Randall and I are doing a big bunch of work on Crossfire. So I'm thinking until I have time to do a proper figure out my live streaming, maybe Randall and I can just cut some parts out for you to watch. There's a particular part I'm thinking of where we're discussing two parts, one with Bettina Ardent and one with this doctor from Brisbane who's discussing the abandonment of tradition, not Ron Dart, and in a bit of a different way, but he's got a very, very interesting point in how the sexual revolution has impacted women. It's one of my favorite parts of the documentary. But yeah, actually last night, I just finished the entire script for the film. I'd been putting it on the back burner because I knew I didn't have the money at that point to pay to finish the editing, but I'm like, just got to do it. Just got to finish it. Even if I have to, put it on a payment plan, we'll make it happen. So that's an exciting part. The whole script is done right now, and I'm just going to make it happen, guys. Even if we're not in a position to. Screw it. Thomas says, I'd say call it out, but don't mention names. Those that freak out publicly about it will only expose themselves. Yeah, I think there's a lot. I just get this feeling. I just get this vibe. And oh my goodness, I'm still talking in such vague terms. I get this vibe that there's a great reordering coming about. I think that conservatism has gotten so much in the shadows. It's gotten so overwhelmed by popular culture that people are really going to have to look inward and look at their leadership and consider what went wrong. And people who have been just absolutely corrosive to any sort of real solutions, they're not going to last very long. They're not going to last very long. Oh, guys, I guess so I can be a little more specific since I'm talking so vaguely. There are people who they dedicate all their time to, you need to be moral, you need to be traditional, you need to get married and do this. And all their time is spent with prostitutes every night and doing drugs every night and, cheating on family members and this kind. And it's just, I can't, it makes me so sick. And I hate having this all pented up and not talking about it with anyone and I don't know. I know it's not my job to judge people, but it's just, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate that this is the movement I have attached myself to. And this is why I am right wing in spite of the right. Leanne says, I dreamed I flew to Australia and we became friends. Just wanted to share that. I am friends with all of you in this chat. What time is it? It's midnight here. I'm painting and drinking wine with you. You're my friends. No need to fly to Australia. It's a bit difficult at the moment. Even citizens aren't allowed to fly back right now, which blows my mind. Martin says, I can't help but wonder if this isn't a much deeper-seated problem in society. I know I'm quick to dismiss tradition as peer pressure from dead people, but we seem to have lost much of it so quickly. Yeah, I get the meme, tradition is peer pressure from dead people, but it's more so we in our lives only have so much time to make mistakes and do stupid things. And so when we make if we spent our whole lives making mistakes and we got zero guidance on what might be the right thing to do, zero guidance from our parents on, hey, don't touch that fire. I already did it and I know it hurts. Hey, don't walk off that cliff. I know that's a bad idea. Hey, maybe don't date the bikey gang member that's murdered 3 people. Not a great decision. We only have so much time to make mistakes in our own life. So our ancestors kind of put together a mistake book. We're doing a giant maze all together, except it's a maze over thousands and thousands of years. And every person who works on it, instead of making you start from the beginning of the maze, they give you their work and they show you, hey, don't go down that path. Don't go down this path. If you make this mistake, you'll go on for 50 years being miserable and end up at a dead end. So don't do that. So instead of just giving us a blank map. They give us one with all of their attempts and errors and successes, and this one's been good and this one's been bad. And it's supposed to be helpful. And we've thrown that out the window because we're like, we don't want your advice. I'll do it myself because I am a strong, empowered woman. I don't need no guidance. No, we all do. All of us do. Some of us get worse guidance from our parents than others, unfortunately, but there's certainly, and this is where it comes into play, where there are traditions that are worth throwing out and are dumb, and there are traditions that are worth keeping and worth listening to. And we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. We have absolutely thrown the baby out with bathwater. And in some people's worries about throwing out tradition, they try to revive all traditions. Like I talked about this on my Instagram the other day. Some guy, and I know I shouldn't respond to these things, but this is part of my trying to do a freak purge. Some guy was like, you're wearing too much makeup. That's not conservative. I've got an itch on my arm. Sorry, guys. That's not conservative. How could you? That's disgusting. And I was like, don't you think there are bigger things to worry about in society right now? Like, I can assure you, a bit of eyeliner is not going to destroy the West. Like, it's just not, my dude. Looking nice, dressing up, that's actually a good thing, that we have some structure in society where people are like, I want to look good when I leave my house. I want to look feminine. I want to look beautiful. When guys do their hair and trim their beards and brush their teeth, that's a good thing. Why are we attacking people looking nice? Like that? No, there are some traditions that can be thrown out. But others, we really threw the baby out with the bathwater here. Like, okay, we're just going to have no discretion in who we sleep with. As if, and this is also what we cover in Empty Love, there are psychological aspects. Every time you sleep with someone, it connects you to them psychologically. It impacts you. It's not just a purely physical thing. It completely impacts you. Can have health impacts, can create a human being. There are huge consequences to this. Oh, and that's such a hard part of the documentary is this doctor that we speak to. He's like, kids used to be the purpose of finding another human being to be with, to sleep with, to marry. And now they are a mistake. They are a consequence. They're only ever seen as a mistake and something to be avoided in our society. Very sad. But yeah, there are good traditions and bad traditions. Oh, I sound like such a centrist. I hate it, but there is a lot of gray in this world. Sorry if you were looking for certain answers. Andre says, you feel more confident if you are well-groomed. 100%. And you know what? Give me a well-groomed person who maybe wasn't as blessed genetically over someone who was blessed genetically but doesn't put any effort in any day. When someone grooms themselves, that tells me they care about themselves. They care about people around them. They care about, upholding a sense of beauty in the world. And that should be protected. That is precious. And I will take that person over someone who just had genetics thrown at them, gifted with genetics, and puts in no effort and is lazy any day. Should be promoted. Right Escape says, do you prefer Canadian wine or Aussie wine? I really can't make any judgments because if I'm being honest, this is a $9 white wine. Real fancy hour for my Europeans. Don't judge me. I'm just saving money, all right? There's nothing wrong with saving money. I am, even at times in my life where I've been doing really, really well. I grew up in a family where my mother actually, story time, you guys. My grandmother was a war orphan from London. So during the London bombings, World War II, she was abandoned and they sent a bunch of the war orphans to Adelaide, Australia. And she was given to a home here, a family that were really, really abusive, sadly. So when she was 16 years old, she got on a boat to Canada and escaped. And at that time, there were no real immigration processes. You just walked into the country and you were like, hey, what's up? I'm here now. So that was her life. That was her experience. And she ended up homeless for a long time with 3 daughters. And they just traveled around Canada, dumpster diving and hitchhiking in trucks across the country. So my mom would literally dumpster dive for food when she was growing up. And I grew up with that mentality where we were raised, we get our clothes from Value Village. And that was like, where you could get secondhand tops for $4 and stuff. And you get, your 2 pairs of shoes for the year, and you save money. Even if we're doing all right, we save money because you never know. You never know. And that's how I live today. I buy my stuff from Vinnie's. I don't go over the top. You never know. But I like that. I don't know. There's also something about like hunting. It's a woman's hunting ground. If you can find a top that would normally cost, like I have found jackets that have been $900 jackets that I bought for $25. I'll tell you right now, I don't know why anyone buys anything firsthand. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. Leanne says Value Village is the bomb. My dad was a dumpster diver in BC. Dude, probably dumpster diving with my mom. That's crazy. Yeah, because British Columbia, that's where I'm originally from. Bottled wine instead of casks. Still some standards. That's right. That's right. What do you guys call it? Bagged wine? Goon. Oh, look at me learning these Australian words. All right, I'm probably going to stick around for another 10 minutes. I've barely painted anything because I've been so distracted by talking to you, which is a good thing. But let me answer a few of your questions if you've got them while I finish a few more leaves on this painting. Goon bags. Goon bags. I know everyone hates the way I say bag, but you'll just have to deal with it, guys. That's too bad. Thanks for staying up with us. Thanks for being here, Martin, and all of my Euros that could stick around. I'm really glad we could do this, make this happen. And those who are up at ridiculous o'clock, like Thomas. Actually, it's probably pretty early in the US too, Joseph. Eight-year reserve rum and Italian cola for me. Look at you. We got a fancy man in the chat right now. I don't like hard drinks, but a rum and Coke is not that bad. It's 4 p.m. here. That's a good time. Although, what is it? What day is it? Is it like Monday there, or is it? No, it's like Saturday there, I think. I don't know. I'm really bad with time zones. Joe says he's been up for 24 hours as it's tax deadlines. How libertarian are you feeling right now, Joe? Every time tax season comes around, I'm like, yep, it's time to be a full-blown libertarian again. Okay, it's Sunday over there. All right, so not so bad. Although I hope I didn't make anyone miss church. I had to leave church early today. We literally couldn't finish it because my son was having an absolute temper tantrum. I'm thinking we're going to have to convert to Protestantism, at least until my son is like 5 and can sit still in a church service. Because Protestant churches can be like full-on in-sync concerts, so at least he'll be entertained. My Rob Roy has destroyed my ability to think of a question. Is Rob Roy a type of alcohol? Rob Roy. This is a film. A film with Liam Neeson. I don't know what you're on about, man. I need a smaller brush, guys. This one's just not really cutting it. I just burped. It's really embarrassing. Oh, it really is time for me to stop. It is time for me to leave soon. Okay, I'm going to paint 2 more leaves. I'm getting no questions. Everyone's just talking about whiskey in my chat. I'm missing church today. To get your taxes done, Jesus would not like that. He would destroy the taxmen for making you miss church. Do I have any more debates lined up? Very good question, Martin. I have been asked by like every single debate me bro to debate them now. And I think I mentioned this in my Destiny talk. I think it's because there are like no conservatives doing debates anymore because everyone's realized it's a big fat waste of time, which apparently I should have realized earlier and I didn't. So I'm like the only conservative willing to talk to these people because the only benefit, I get no real benefit because it's just all of these people saying, wow, Lauren, get owned, even if they make the worst arguments possible, doesn't matter. I mean, I guess the lefties did say I beat Xander Hall, but I mean, they don't care. They don't care if you have better arguments. You're still just an evil fascist to them. So I don't know why I keep doing it. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. I'm a sucker for punishment. No, long story short, no, I don't have any more debates lined up. I am saying no to people at the moment who ask me. Maybe I'll give it a few months once I've had more time to focus on things that actually matter, like my own content and finishing this documentary. I'll do another debate after this documentary is out. Sorry, Lauren, it's 12:30 a.m. here. No questions. That is all right. Are you going to do an autopsy of conservatism? Yes, that's the plan. That is the plan. Right Escape says, do you have someone lined up who knows what they're debating, so it's actually not a own goal on their behalf? That's the problem. I start so many sentences with that's the problem because there's so many problems. Is I don't think a lot, because political commentary demands you be experts in so many topics, I'd really rather prefer, I don't mind political commentary, people summarizing issues that the world has, summarizing them into quick, okay, this is what's happening in the news today. This is a political crisis I've analyzed. But when it comes to like getting down to the nitty gritty debate subjects, like with that trans debate, I way would have preferred watching 2 researchers debate it than Hunter Avallone and I. I'd like to think I was at least a little bit humble with saying, hey, all of this research seems pretty bad, but like I'm just erring on the side of caution because we're talking about children. Whereas there's so much certainty in these leftist debate bro circles, like 100%, I am correct. You are 1000% wrong, even though I'm not a dietitian, even though I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert. I am 100% right. It's impossible to talk to people like this. Impossible. Impossible. Right Escape says, is there a way to download your old documentaries? I mean, they're on YouTube still. You can get the DVDs. Some of you guys would have the DVDs. I'm pretty sure they're still for sale. I have a 3-pack for sale right now. And if it's not, then I am going to fix that because I was pretty sure I still had them all for sale. Maybe you could make some videos with real professionals in the field, says Leanne. That's what I was actually considering doing. Great minds think alike. I have like achieved nothing on this painting. I've added a few leaves, barely. You need some plastic. Okay, listen, Steven, listen up here. Someone told me I didn't have enough greenery on my wall, so I got more greenery, even though it's a bit patchy, because it needed to be patchy to make more. And now I'm getting criticized on my wall greenery again. There you go. Is that good enough for you? Now you can't see the patch, although I'm going to have to get little green things to put in these spaces. I'm trying my best here. Right Escape says, awesome. I will definitely buy the DVDs. Awesome. Steven says, I was the one who told you to get more, so I am stirring. Well, listen up. I did it. And I'm actually, this was really difficult to attach to the wall. I put in some real effort for you. Question, what medium are you painting with? I'm painting with acrylic paint right now. I think I'm going to try oil paints next because this is just, there is just not enough room for mixing and blending with this here. It's way too particular. It looks great. Thank you. It's barely started. I'm getting there. I don't like, I prefer different, I don't like this kind of tree. I don't like it. I'm not a fan because I have to paint each leaf individually instead of just using like, I bought some of these tools where I can just go bam, 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 bam when I want to put leaves in here, but not with this tree. It's just not going to allow for that, sadly. Acrylic dries quick. It does. It does. So not a whole lot of mixing, which is tragic. Welcome to you guys watching me paint stream. You need a leaf stencil. Damn it, Steven, that's a good idea. Dip the plastic wall plants in paint and press it on the canvas. They're not the right shape, my friend. They're just not the right shape. Good thinking, though. All right, guys, it's been over an hour now. I'm probably going to have to leave. I'm getting super tired here. Just Photoshop some leaves on it and post. These are fantastic suggestions, guys. Right Escape just said, don't drink the paint water instead of wine. I literally almost did that 2 seconds ago. That's how tired I am, and that's why I'm shutting down this stream. George Lee says, do you think you will be able to travel by early next year? How is the situation in Australia? Yeah, they announced that travel, well, they didn't make it a positive message. They made it a negative message. They said travel won't be allowed until 2022. So hopefully that does mean that next year I will be able to travel. That would be nice because I am getting very claustrophobic in this one country. I know it's a whole ass country, but I like to see a bit of the world. I like to be able to do documentaries in more than just Australia, but we'll at least make one here. All right, last leaf here is turning out really well. I kept saying last leaf, and I've painted like 7 leaves since I said last leaf, but so be it. All right. Good night, Leanne. Good night, Andre. Good night, Martin, Joe, Right Escape, Thomas, George Lee, everyone else that was here hanging out. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you for watching my painting. I achieved nothing, but we did achieve a wonderful hangout, and I finished my glass of wine, so I finished something. Oh my gosh, that was such a wine mom statement. Oh, I'm losing my mind because this is why I can't do late night live streams. Good night, guys. It's been a pleasure. I'll chat soon.